about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, are you guys getting kind of lonely? See, I've been around people my whole life that when I do get some quiet time to myself, I really like it. I've actually become more and more introverted the older I get. But I remember one day where I had gone maybe almost 24 hours without talking to anybody. And then I get to the studio and I talk to Daniel. And I was so happy to talk to Daniel. I was like, hi, Daniel, how are you? I didn't realize how lonely I got after 24 hours. Everybody, my family was out of town. I hadn't seen patients. I was just on a computer, probably working. I work every day, so I'm trying to remember what happened that day. But I remember that Daniel was the first person I had actually talked to in 24 hours. And it was so good to talk to him. and also he's a cool guy. But we are underestimating what our kids are going through. And these kids have actually turned to these chat bots, this AI, as their friends, as their companions. And that's a big problem. Because if they are preferring a computer over real people, then they're not going to want to be around people. And, it's interesting because I hear parents tell me, why is my kid in their room playing video games all the time? How are these kids playing video games and not wanting to play outside, not wanting to hang out with others? Well, if I really think back to my days, I loved playing outside. I loved hanging out with the boys. They did more fun stuff, making mud pies and big wheels and things like that. But, you did get bullied. You got in trouble. Kids would get you into trouble. Or they would push you into the street when a car was coming. I mean, really horrible things. And the bullies were numerous. No matter which friend group you found, there was somebody that ended up being the alpha and the bully. And I think a lot of these kids go, you know what? I think it's safer. I'm not going to be asked to do drugs. I'm not going to have to get drunk. I'm not going to be doing truth or dare where I have to do something or find a glory hole or whatever because my friends are making me do it. I get to play a game. I feel rewarded. The video game is talking to me. It's chatting with me. And I'm in my safe space. And we have, with this latest generation, turned the younger generation into preferring computers over humans. Well, these young kids are getting exposed to AI and these chat bots really, really young. And because I guess it's called anthropomorphic AI, where the chat bots are human-like in their voice, personality, conversational style, and they could seem very alive. They could also seem trusting, where people start to trust them. There's been some cases, we spoke about that, where I guess a 9-year-old told his AI chatbot that his parents made him cut back on his screen time. He asked the chatbot what to do. And in response, it said that the kid was enduring abuse and he might have to kill his parents. Remember that? That was, I think, last year. Are you kidding me? That is some frightening stuff. There was a 14-year-old, this is according to healthychildren.org, who died by suicide because he developed romantic feelings for a character he created on this role-playing app. And then I guess when it wasn't real, felt duped. If you get turned down and dumped in real life, computers can do the same. They could be cold. They could be. There's this big demand for these sex robots because they'll talk less than your partner. They'll do what you want. You could program them, but eventually they're gonna upset you. You're not gonna want to be intimate with them. They're gonna not do things exactly the way you want because you don't want a robot. We humans are trained to not want robots. You want somebody who could think and who could spar with you and talk to you and challenge you. But these young kids are getting exposed to this. Before, we as kids, you had to play outside. Now parents are like, look, I don't know where the babysitter is. I'm working. I'm busy. It's safer for you to just be in front of a TV or in front of a screen. And parents are pushing kids to doing this. But we as humans also need to do a better job of being humans. One thing that I notice with friends, especially in high school and even later, is I'm the type of girl that I don't attract guys in terms of dates, but I attract guys as friends. So I get access to guys that my girlfriends wanted, but I didn't realize that. I thought they wanted to be around me. But no, they would want to be around me because they could then have access to the guy. Or they could be around me because I had access to doctors and medicine. And they could get same-day appointment with me if they needed to. And so I have been used so many times by humans. Luckily, I like human interaction and I want to be around humans. But if somebody was to heck with this, I don't need this anymore, then yeah, they're going to start, they're going to have a relationship with their computer. And it's not that they wake up and they say, I am going to fall in love with my laptop. That's not how it starts. How it starts is they play a game or they find like chess or something, or they find that they're getting comfortable with these avatars or whoever. And then they start to bond because that's what humans do. We bond with things, whether it's a stuffed animal, whether it's a pet. We don't have to always bond with humans. We know how to bond with other things. I bond with chocolate. Yeah, right? Yeah. I got a really close relationship with chocolate. And then they start to prefer to be with that bond. And then they may develop feelings if they don't keep reality in check. But don't let our kids start going there. That's tragic. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So this is probably a something that I like to cheer everybody up, but we have to give this story some attention. And so many of us have seen the headline over the last few days that Bruce Willis, one of my favorite actors of all time, can't remember that he was a famous actor. Now, we believe Sean Connery also might have forgotten at his end with dementia and Alzheimer's, when he had dementia, that he might not have remembered how iconic he was. And when you have somebody like Bruce Willis, who impacted my life, who impacted a lot of our lives, I mean, my favorite movie ever is Die Hard. My favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. I know that ticks everybody off because it was released in the summer of '88, but it has the Christmas party. We speak about how it's Christmas movie because there's Christmas music and ho ho ho, Santa. It's a happy ending. It's about family. So to me, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies. I like to watch it every Christmas. That and Home Alone. But knowing that one of my favorite actors of all time doesn't remember because of his frontotemporal dementia that he was one of the greatest actors now of our time is very frightening. And it's frightening because, one, it means we're getting old, all of us. Number two is it shows that somebody is physically fit, somebody is athletic, somebody is young. As Bruce Willis was young. He still is. To have something like that happen, and he's 70 years old, but to me, he looks like he did in Moonlighting. David Addison. And it's hard to watch. It's hard to see. So we're being told by News 18 that the Sixth Sense, Pulp Fiction, Fifth Element, Die Hard actor has been progressing since he was diagnosed in 2022 with aphasia. His wife, Emma Hemming Willis, recently shared an update. And, she had, kind of reiterated that he, is not improving, obviously. And being diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, this seems like it was a very, very fast-moving dementia, but we're being told that he's been struggling for a while. That actors have seen him the last few decades that have worked with them struggle with lines, needing the earpiece to help with him remember his lines, some mood issues. And so even though people say, oh my gosh, he just got dementia, now it's rapid, there's been some discussions that this actually started years ago. When they say he had aphasia, and aphasia is inability to get the words out. There's different types, Wernicke, Broca's, but aphasia is not being able to get the words out. They said that's his diagnosis. And I go, no, that's a symptom of something. Yeah, you could have a fever, but why do you have a fever? Do you have a fever because you have pneumonia, because you have a UTI, because you have COVID or flu? Why do you have the fever? You have aphasia because there's something going on. Is there a tumor? Is there dementia? Is there an infection? Is there a vitamin deficiency? Why does he have aphasia? So when they came out with that in 2022, we talked about how that's a symptom of something. You just don't get a diagnosis of aphasia. It's a part of something else. And then within a year, they revealed that he had frontotemporal dementia. So over the last few years, we've been seeing it progress. The frontotemporal dementia can affect your speech, your memory, your personality, your decision-making, even your movement. And Bruce Willis retired from acting 3 years ago. And we know that was going to be the start of a probably rapid process, because once somebody gives up something they love and they're so good at, and they can't keep that up, unfortunately, it can accelerate. And so when we look at frontotemporal dementia, unlike Alzheimer's, where you might see the memory loss early, with frontotemporal dementia, there's different phases. So let me just quickly review. So first, you might have a change in your cognitive status. Then you might start getting behavior changes where you're more apathetic. You could then start having language difficulties such as aphasia. Then you could start becoming forgetful, unable to perform many of your activities of daily living like driving, etc. Then come the personality changes and the mood swings. Then comes the loss of memory, motor, and balance. And then following that is severe cognitive impairment and health deterioration, poor nutrition, falls, pneumonia. It could be genetic, but we don't know why people get it, and we don't have a cure. They say life expectancy can be under 10 years from the time of diagnosis, could be hastened by other medical conditions. Let's say somebody falls, somebody fractures their hip, somebody has bed sores, somebody has infection, pneumonia. That can unfortunately accelerate it. And so, his family, and it's I love how one other thing that I really like about Bruce Willis is not only do I love his acting, and I had the biggest crush on him in the 80s and 90s, just love Bruce Willis, but I love how he handled the family and the blended family. So he divorces Demi Moore, but he has 3 daughters. And rather than it being a vicious, ugly, brutal divorce, they still remain a happy family. And to see somebody get a divorce, and, you could tell these 2 people could be very strong-headed. You could tell they probably had some really loud fights. For them to be able to publicly and privately still keep the family a unit and be friendly with each other is huge. I think during COVID, they all isolated with together in the same house. You saw pictures of them all being in pajamas. They could all hang out together. The new wife, when Demi Moore was with Ashton Kutcher, they could all be together in the same room. And seeing something like that, and when Hollywood is notorious for having these horrible divorces where the kids don't like each other and then they drop, Brad Pitt's name, and there's, with all the drama we see, it's kind of nice to see, that yes, it can be done. You can divorce and still be a blended family and, keep it together for the kids. So Emma has been his new wife has been his main, caregiver. She and he have 2 daughters, Mabel and Evelyn. And she's actually going to be writing a book on how to help care, etc. But from what we understand, he is on a steep decline. And it's hard to hear this, but the family is keeping us posted. And I love how they're being open about that because so many people love this actor. But dementia reminds us, as we saw with Biden, they keep showing old clips of Biden when he was at his prime. And it's sad. It's sad to see what happens. And it reminds us all that could be us. I've had family members who didn't die of cancer, didn't die of heart disease, only to later get dementia. I mean, the light is supposed to be at the end of the tunnel, going off to heaven, but it's the path getting there when you age doesn't seem that fun. And so our recommendation is in medicine, because we don't have cures for Alzheimer's. We don't have cures for frontotemporal dementia. We don't have cures for Parkinson's, but we do have ways to treat. We do have ways to slow things down, is make sure you get checked out early. Coming to us once you have aphasia, once you have memory losses, once you are deep, in a crisis, a cognitive crisis, that makes it harder for us to intervene. And let us work with you on your risk factors. Let us work with you on your blood pressure, on your diabetes, on your cholesterol, on your inactivity, on your lack of exercise, your lack of vitamin D, on blood flow issues, circulatory issues, stress. Let us help you with that. Now, I worry being middle-aged, am I going to have the heart attack? Am I going to get the cancer, or am I going to get the dementia? I worry about that. And I'm sure people have bets, it'll be a bus. She'll fall off a mountain trying to get a selfie on one of her hikes. I don't know. And God forbid, I don't want to leave this earth any sooner than I have to. But I don't want the cancer. I don't want the heart attack, and I don't want the dementia. And I think we let our brains go. by what we expose ourselves to, and all the metals and the aluminum and the lack of nutrients and the fake food and the trauma. How many times in sports or whatever have I hit my head? So get things checked out and pray for Bruce Willis and his family. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this is an evolving story where we're looking at our capital, Washington, D.C., which I love. It's one of my favorite cities in this beautiful country of ours. When I went in the 90s, I noticed it was one of the cleanest cities. And I was comparing it to other cities like New York City, et cetera. But I just was blown away at how clean and well taken care of and landscaped and the access to the museums were free. Love it. Very inviting, very homey, but I knew that nighttime could be a little dangerous. And D.C. has taken a turn for the worse as it pertains to crime and carjacking. And since Trump's National Guard deployment to partner with the D.C. police, some people call it a hostile takeover. I'm hearing that they're partnering with them and they're working with the police, that people are happy. They're feeling comfortable. They're videotaping and TikToking how they are at a four-way stop or at a stoplight and they don't fear getting carjacked. I mean, wow. To think that our citizens in D.C. were struggling and feeling unsafe. And this is our capital. I mean, nobody should feel unsafe in America, but especially in our capital. That to think that they couldn't follow the traffic laws or their lives could be in jeopardy because they're at a stop, at a four-way stop. Frightening. And so we're hearing and we're seeing on the ground people happy and excited. Of course, liberal media says, nope, D.C. residents feel less safe. Really? According to one poll, the Washington Post SCAR poll, 8 in 10 D.C. residents oppose the federal government taking over local police duties temporarily, which is only supposed to be about 30 days. And they're saying 61% feel less safe. Really? So you're going to see these polls and you're going to see this back and forth. What I recommend is individuals, if you're happy with it, post a video. If you're unhappy, post a video. Show us why. What's good, what's not. Because I think the rest of the country is looking at this as a template. as a possible example of what could be done to clean up crime in your city. And if we do need the National Guard every now and then to come in to allow people to not get killed, not get raped, not get their cars stolen, not get looted, then that might be something we need to do. Because all we've been hearing about the last few years is the rising crime. And it's horrible. Now, there's only so much the military could do. We don't want to militarize everywhere. But I got to tell you, when I go to Israel, I feel safe. Why? Because there's military. They're standing there with police. For you have extra security. I've walked alone. I've been, by myself walking through the streets in areas that are not necessarily Jewish or security areas, and I feel safe. Why? Because there's a presence. There's that presence of law enforcement or military. And we wouldn't need that if there was plenty of support for our law enforcement and plenty of funds. But after all the rhetoric for defunding the police, it's no wonder that help needed to come. And by the way, if Trump didn't step in and help D.C., then he would be faulted for that too. He would be called a taco and whatever else they've been calling him, saying he's not stepping up. So so you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you let the crime continue to kill innocent civilians in D.C., and that's your capital, it's on you. If you step in to help and minimize the crime, you're also being faulted. It's ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous is we are being told that allegedly D.C. officials falsified crime data. The Justice Department has now launched an investigation into Washington crime reporting data. The investigation has been led by the Office of the U.S. Attorney for D.C., and this followed when people were saying that violent crime in Washington had reached a 30-year low. So, meaning you're telling people are saying, no, you can't park, you can't stop at a stop light, you can't come out of a Jewish museum with your fiancé without being gunned down. That doesn't sound like it's at a 30-year low, and unless it has been always horribly crime-ridden, and the amount of crime is still ridiculous, but it falls a little bit less than previous years. So now Trump is saying that the numbers might be fake. They say D.C. gave fake crime numbers in order to create a false illusion of safety. So this investigation comes after Metropolitan Police Department suspended a former commander of one district after he was accused of shifting data on violent crime. The district comprises 3 neighborhoods in the city. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche confirmed the probe in a Monday night interview on Fox News and said he was unsure whether any shifts were broader than the one officer. He says, I can't tell you for sure whether it goes further, but we are, as you are suggested, we are looking into this. Because the reality is that we know that D.C. has been an incredibly unsafe place to live for a very long time. He says, and so in some ways, it's not surprising that we hear about reports of this type of conduct that suggests that D.C. is safer than everybody that lives here knows to be true. So we're investigating it, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it some point soon. The D.C. Police Union supported Trump's working with their police, the National Guard move, and also doubts crime is as low as the city reported. The statistics released by the city showed a 27% drop in violent crime and a 4% drop in property crime from 2024 to this year. They say the declines are even more significant for the years compared to 2023 and 2024. But the police department have not, I guess, responded to the Hill. I'm getting this from the Hill. And so, the games that politicians play, and this is what kills me. Okay, we got a job to do, whether it's protecting our hospital infrastructure, getting healthcare back on track, getting our border secure, getting crime down. These shenanigans are hurting us. Now, I understand one side could say, well, they're lying, and the other side could say, well, they're lying. And that's nothing new. But playing around with data to try, I think there are people on this planet that all they want to do is their whole job is to screw over the opposite political party. And that's all they're working on. Well, let's redistrict in Illinois. And let's just bring the line over here. And wait, there's a family over here that might be right. Let's leave them in that count. Let's bring this over here. Let's make them the minority. I think that's what people do. And of course, both sides are now doing it. This gerrymandering is going to, continue on both sides. The more the Democrats do it, the Republicans are going to wake up and go, well, then we might as well do it too. And then the Democrats do it again, like in California. By the way, Californians do not want, it to just be majority rules. They want an independent commission deciding their districts. The thing is really independent. Were the Trump juries really neutral and unbiased? So we have to be able to trust our officials. We have to be able to trust the numbers. And right now, I think distrust is at an all-time high. The 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I wish I had this problem. One of my listeners asked, what would I recommend? Do you build up an inheritance for your kids, or do you spend the money and enjoy it? What would I do? Okay, well, I'm not in that position. I told you guys I never really was able to start putting away for retirement to the degree that I needed to. When you are in business for yourself and you're trying to pay off student loans, and then Obamacare comes in and everybody has high deductibles and nobody is paying for medical care. So you're, working for free and you're trying to pay your staff and you got your kids. And I really didn't, put the money away that I should have, because I didn't have it. We had a mortgage on the house. There was high interest. We did well enough, but not to the point where I have anything that I could say. Kids, you'll be fine if we go. No, we're not. We're not there yet. Also, I came from a family where they were always poor. Nobody ever had money. In fact, there was a great uncle in Israel. I got a call from somebody saying that there's a little bit of an inheritance. And I didn't believe it because nobody in my family ever gets inheritance. We just don't. And I thought it was fake. And they kept calling and they kept calling. And I go, it's a scam. Okay, nobody in my family has money. Well, apparently it was a few $1,000s. And he had in a will to give it to me. And we didn't take it. We said, you know what? Give it to his stepson. You know, I hardly saw this family member. Give it to the stepson. And so we didn't take it. I mean, I'm sure it would have helped. But for a few $1,000s, when I felt like it really wasn't our money anyway, we didn't take it. And so I don't know what that would be like where, you know, you work and then you plan on somebody dying to be your savior in terms of finances. I find that kind of creepy. But a lot of families do have the gift of, you know, money coming to them if a family member leaves. And that money coming to them is going to help them stay out of financial ruin. Now, from what I've seen with patients and what I've seen with stories is if somebody is in financial ruin, whether they get the inheritance or not, they're going to still be in financial ruin because it's like a diet. If you don't know how to keep your weight down, doesn't matter what surgery you do, doesn't matter what weight loss drugs, you know, if you're not going to eat right and exercise, the weight's going to come back. So if you're not going to manage money smartly, you're going to lose the money. But for those of us where, you know, we were always a generation, the reason why this is a subject and why my listener reached out is because this is probably one of the first generations where we may be doing better than our kids. See, it was always the kids did better than great grandma, than grandma, and I came from a family where everybody helped their parents and their grandparents. And so now we're in a position where our kids are not getting jobs that easily. They're getting turned down. They got a college degree, but so do millions others. And that college degree doesn't mean jack diddly squat anymore. And so now they're in debt because of college. Or there's medical students that don't match and they're $500,000 in debt. They might have gotten a medical degree or a DO degree, but they don't have a residency. And so this is starting to become more and more of a reality. And so these kids are probably thinking, well, what's going to happen to me later? So the light at the end of the tunnel is, well, there'll be an inheritance. We'll help mom and dad build their wealth. And then, God forbid they die, we'll have something. So I'm not there yet where I have money that I remember talking to my kids about, you know, God forbid something happens to me. And I brought up the car and I immediately saw them look at each other like, who gets mommy's car? Yeah, I mean, it's a used Corvette, and I love it, and they love it too. But my guess is I'm going to probably run that sucker to the ground before, not on purpose. It's just how I drive. It's already getting banged up and stuff. But, you know, I don't really have that much to give them. And I'd like to, and I'm working on that. We're doing a much better job saving now that the kids are older, now that we're trying to get other family members to help with other family members so it's not always on us. You know, we're slowly starting to be more selfish, saying, look, guys, okay, now it's time for us to prepare. Because that was a biggie. We always had to, you know, my dad, my grandmother, my mom. It was always some other family member needing help or needing something paid for or them to be buried after they died. And it just, money always went to somebody else. And so the idea of, you know what, be a little selfish, enjoy your money, travel, I think is absolutely fine. I wish people had enough money where they could do both, where they could enjoy their money and leave something for their children. So what our generation has done, and I don't want to say Gen X, because I know not all of us are Gen X, but what our 2025 adults have been doing is encouraging our younger individuals to start saving up early and start their retirement account. What Trump wants to do, where every child born, I guess in 2025, gets $1,000 in a retirement account to start building. Okay, that's a smart idea. I think it's a real smart idea. So that hopefully by the time they're adults, it'll grow and they'll have something that they can rely on, especially since we don't know what the hell is going to happen with Social Security. But you also have one life to live. And one thing I'm learning the older I get is the more I feel I do and accomplish and see, the more okay I'm with aging and then later returning back to God. So you need to, while you're deciding, what do I want to do for my kids? If something you really, really do want to do for your kids is leave them all your money, then good. But if you've always wanted to see the Great Wall in China, if you always wanted to go to Japan, if you've always wanted to go to Australia, if you've always wanted to go to Israel or Paris, do that. You know, we started saving up, and my mom is getting up there in age. And for years, I've been like, I want to take her to Israel, but she can't walk. And I figured out how I could do this with a motorized wheelchair and all that. And so I'm going to be taking her. And she doesn't have money to leave me. Nobody in my family does. But I feel like this is something I've wanted to do. So rather than spend the money on myself or spend it on the kids, I'm doing something that it's something I needed to do in my lifetime. Take her where she wanted to go. And she's always wanted to see Israel. So we'll go to the Jewish section, the Arab section, the sepulcher of Christ. We're going to go all through Jerusalem, Israel, wherever we could go. That's hopefully not at war. And hopefully, we still have a ceasefire. Hopefully the hostages could come back and I could get her dream of seeing Israel. Not easy, pretty expensive, but that's something I want to do with any little extra money I now have. But we got to save. And it's making a lot of us nervous. One, because we don't want to be a burden on our kids. And two, we want to leave them something. So start thinking about it now. It's very easy to start putting money aside. And I'm going to tell you right now, the kids are going to be very grateful for anything. If they aren't, then they're not good kids. But if you leave them a few $100s or a few $1,000s or leave them some of your trinkets. See, I don't have jewelry. I don't have expensive jewelry. That's what you used to leave them. I don't have that. So don't have that. Like I said, all I maybe have is my car and my medical antiques to give them. But also leave for your kids a video, a book, advice. There's a lot of ways you could be there for that child, even in the afterlife. Your child at some point is going to want to know the history of the family. I have a family member that's really, really good at that, trying to organize who was at what concentration camp, who died, who fled, who was able to make it out alive. I have a family member who's pretty good at trying to get all that together. But there's lots of things of value you could give your kids. So if you don't have, let's say, a lot of money to give them, there's other things you could do that's valuable. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.